This video is about the Meta Knights of competitive Pokemon, moves so absurdly powerful that they simply had to be banned from tournament play, or else the metagame would be irreparably damaged. Just kidding, most of these are just bugged or really funny. Sometimes moves in Pokemon might be perfectly balanced, but there's some extraneous factor that prevented them from being allowed in official competitions. On the other hand, there's unofficial metagames like Smogon, which will ban specific moves because they're not healthy for the vision of a metagame that they want to achieve in single battles. You see, lately, Game Freak has been balancing Pokemon with their official metagame in mind. This happens to be a double battle format where you have 6 Pokemon on each team and only bring 4. Because they're balancing with this in mind most of the time, singles metagames tend to be left in a little bit of an unruly state. That's where Smogon comes in, and they apply their own bans and rules to try to make it a little bit more playable. Today, what I want to take a look at are the different instances of bans and explaining them in VGC and singles metagames. These are the moves that are banned from competitive Pokemon. If you enjoy, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, do whatever. I also hype the video. That's a new thing. You can hype the video. It actually helps me out quite a bit. If you're on mobile, you just scroll down there, click the little hype button. Micah, editor, show them how you do that. It helps me out a lot. And it's free. Okay, let's begin with moves banned from official tournaments and deal with the Smogon bans later on. As a certified yapper, Chatter was a move made with me in mind. You're telling me that if I caught a Chatot in Gen 4, I could record my own audio and have that play every time I use the move? Think of the possibilities. Oh, people certainly thought of them. Chatter was a 60 base power special flying type move that had a variable chance to confuse the target, depending on just how loud the recording was. It was banned from online play for pretty obvious reasons. The Pokemon Company knew pretty well that if players were able to record their own audio, those players might spread the word on EVs and IVs. Yes, Chatter would be used one by one in different matches, and people would distribute guides on making competitively viable Pokemon. Also, you'd say bad words. This game is rated E for everyone, but so was Gen 6, so why did we get voice chat in Gen 6? But we had Chatter be banned in Gen 4. Like, you could have a full conversation with someone and they could tell you just the worst stuff possible. Like, the possibility of that is always there, right? Whenever you have a voice chat in anything. But the chance that someone might say something a little bad with the move Chatter, like, that's not okay. It's just a weird standard. I don't know. I just need to point that out. Chatter was banned from online play in Generations 4 and 5. However, in Generation 6, it was unbanned because it was completely reworked. It was buffed to 65 base power and now always had a 30% confusion chance. You would only ever hear Chatots cry when you used the move, and you couldn't record your own audio. So we lost the opportunity for a ton of funny moments, but we gained a move in competitive Pokemon that no one uses because no, Chatot still isn't good. This channel is partnered with Gamersubs. If you want to support my work and get great tasting drinks, you can order Gamersubs through my link in the description down below or with code Moxie boosted at checkout for 10% off. Gamersubs is a caffeinated product that I recommend only to my 18+ viewers, but my link will send you to their caffeine-free product section just in case. Every product purchased through my link supports my channel financially, so I'd really appreciate the support. Now back to the video. In 2018, upon the release of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, there were a number of bugged moves that had the possibility of causing double game freezes and forcing matches and tournaments to be restarted. Among these moves were Curse, Forest Curse, and String Shot. The exact reason that these moves were causing disconnects still isn't 100% known, but the fact that they had a shot to freeze the game was reason enough to ban them. I mean, it's just a pretty big inconvenience, right? Like, imagine playing a match and suddenly it's just a double game freeze and you have to restart. Kind of annoying. Well, actually, it goes a lot deeper than that. You see, in in-person VGC tournaments, we have specific rules and etiquette that have to be followed. Unlike an online basic ranked play, there's certain protocols for specific issues. One of these is the dreaded disconnect. When a game disconnects, there's a certain rule that comes into play. You have to restart the game in every scenario unless one of the players has at least a 3-1 lead in Pokemon. You see, it doesn't matter if you were always going to win the game. If you were hypothetically in a 2v1 scenario where you always win the match, there's literally no way to lose, like the game won't even let you lose. You're choice locked into Earthquake against a 1 HP Excadrill with no moves that you always outspeed. If you are in the situation and the game disconnects, the judge is going to tell you to restart the game. No, you do not get the win. No, you only had 2 Pokemon against their 1, you need at least 3. No excuses. So, hypothetically speaking, if someone were to, I don't know, run the move Forest Curse on their Trevenant and be in a less than fortunate situation in their match, they could try to get a double game freeze, forcing the match to restart and allowing them to try for a better position in the next attempt. And because it's a double game freeze, there's no way to tell which console was actually to blame for it, so there's no one to be penalized. For this reason, at the 2018 Dallas Regional Championships, all of these moves were banned from competition until they were later patched and safe to click without fear of freezing the game. This was probably the most substantial banned move in competitive Pokemon because in VGC at the time, Curse Snorlax was one of the strongest sets in the game, with it being able to set up and sweep through an entire team while face tanking hits like a Metro Man, the strongest superhero in fiction. Go ahead, go and argue in the comments. Metro Man's my goat, I don't care. Somehow, 7 years later, we ended up with yet another banned move from a tournament in Texas specifically. Something Nichols, it happened twice, Phineas and Ferb. That was a saying before Phineas and Ferb, you know. Like, people used to say, if I had a nickel for every time that happened, and it meant that it happened more than twice. Like, many times. I just gotta throw that out there. Completely changed the way we use that one. With the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's Indigo Disc DLC, we got access to brand new moves that could be used for novel strategies. Dragon Cheer was one of these moves. While it wasn't the greatest move ever made, it did have various powerful applications that could be seen every now and then in ranked battles. This was a status move that caused the target partner Pokemon to have an increased critical hit rate. They'd have a single stage increase if they weren't Dragon type, and a 2-stage increase, which is a 50% chance to crit, if they were Dragon type. You see, the thing is, when you use a move like Focus Energy that changes your chance to crit, when you switch out the Pokemon, that's supposed to reset the crit chance, in the same way that when you Swords Dance and switch, it resets your attack boost. But this wasn't the case for Dragon Cheer on release. It was possible to permanently boost the crit rate of your entire Pokemon team until the end of the match, because you could just switch them out and not need to worry about applying the Dragon Cheer buff a second time. Because of this, it was banned from the 2024 San Antonio Regional Championships so that it could be patched and work as intended down the road. But since increasing the critical hit rate of your entire team sounds pretty broken, yeah, I think banning it from this one tournament was probably fine. The final ban we'll talk about in VGC is the move Skydrop, which could be considered fly, but a little cooler. It functions in a pretty interesting way. You see, Skydrop causes the user of the move to just abduct one of the opponent's Pokemon, and then drop them on the following turn, dealing damage. Basically, it was able to stuff an opposing Pokemon's move about every other turn. If you were faster than the Skydropped Pokemon, you could prevent them from attacking on that turn, but on the following turn, since you dropped them before they move, they'll get to attack. It was a really useful move in Generation 6 and 7 for preventing Trick Rooms and taunts into your Pokemon. So why was it banned for the entirety of Generation 5 where it was first released? Skydrop was actually prone to a bug which would make it one of the most unfair moves in double battles. By using Skydrop and clicking gravity while the Pokemon were in the air, it would force both Pokemon back to the ground, ending the effect of the move, but only partially. The Pokemon that clicked Skydrop would be able to move freely, but the target of the Skydrop would be immobile until the user of Skydrop switched or got knocked out. Whoa, freeze ray be upon ye. Yeah, you just force a 2v1 for the entire match if you're smart enough. This was fixed in Generation 6 where Skydrop was freed from Poke Prison, but imagine a Gen 5 VGC metagame where Skydrop was legal. I just think that that's like a completely game-changing move. Trick Room was good, Taunt is always a good move, and we had plenty of good flying types in that metagame. Like, Skydrop would have been incredible in Gen 5, you just can't use it. Moving on to the Smogon bans, I'm gonna keep this to some of the more broad bans, as they're the moves that don't require me to get into the state of individual metagames to explain why they're not allowed. The average person could hear my explanation and understand that these are just fundamentally dumb moves in singles. Evasion moves like Minimize are banned from Smogon Singles. You see, Smogon aims to make singles Pokemon battles as skill-based as possible, and evasion moves don't quite spit in the face of that as much as they hit it with a steel chair. Imagine your opponent has a Pokemon that outspeeds yours and they click Minimize once. You get unlucky and your move doesn't connect. No worries, you can just try again next turn. Oops, they minimized again and you missed. And then they do this a third time, and all of a sudden your options for beating them are limited to only the most honorable field of work of all time: gambling. At max evasion, the odds of hitting a Pokemon with a 100 accuracy move go down to 33%, and it gets even worse for moderately accurate moves like Heat Wave or Play Rough, which obviously have a lesser chance of hitting the Pokemon. Could you click moves that just don't miss, like Aerial Ace and Shockwave? Yeah, but those moves are only ignoring accuracy because they hit like a wet noodle. Look, Hydro Pump has bad accuracy because it's so strong. Shockwave has incredible accuracy because it's not very strong. It's a pretty simple math problem there. Could you force them to switch out with Roar or just reset the stat changes with Haze? Yes, this is an option, but it's limiting your team building ability because when the reason you run these moves is only for the evasion user matchup, it's probably a little healthier just to ban the evasion moves. By banning evasion moves, Smogon metagames manage to encourage players to run more consistent strategies and avoid unhealthy evasion strategies from ruining tournament runs. So why doesn't VGC ban evasion too? Well, VGC is a much faster paced metagame where you just don't get as much value out of evasion when things are getting KO'd nearly every turn. Spend 3 turns trying to set up Minimize in a VGC match and let me know how far that gets you.
Challenge accepted.
Not only are you taking damage from 2 Pokemon at once, but also your opponent has more Pokemon on the field to deal with the strategy. One of these Pokemon might have Taunt, while the other Pokemon can just attack into you, where in singles, they're probably going to have to switch to their Taunt user, or their Dragon Tail user, or their Haze user, or whatever. There's just too much wasted time getting to the answer of the Pokemon, where in doubles, the answer's probably staring you in the face. Baton Pass is a move which simply passes all stat changes to the next Pokemon sent out onto the field. So let's say you have a Pokemon that sets up a few Swords Dances to boost its attack, and then Baton passes into the next one. The Pokemon coming in will have all those Swords Dance boosts for themselves and get to sweep with them. This isn't outright broken and may seem even perfectly healthy, and for a while, it kinda was. Baton Pass only had complex bans which prevented speed and evasion boosts for a very long time in older generations. But as of newer generations, Baton Pass chains only got stronger and stronger, leading to their ban. Imagine seeing a Pokemon set up a Substitute and an Iron Defense, only to have it Baton Pass into an Agility user, who Baton Passes into a Swords Dancer, who Baton Passes into an Ingrain user so you can't switch it out, who Baton Passes into literally anything made past Generation 7. Like I know literally anything could sweep at that point with 6 Swords Dances, 6 Agilities, and like 6 Iron Defenses. Just look at old Pimp Knight videos, that was like his whole deal back in 2014. But imagine them switching into, oh, I don't know, like Tapu Fini, or Glastrier, or Fluttermane. Imagine dealing with that today. Those Pokemon are already broken. Oh my god, I just thought of Iron Hands switching in with those boosts. I don't know, that scared me. I just remembered Iron Hands could probably do that too. Yeah, no. You see, as power creep progressed in the later Pokemon generations, the effectiveness and power of Baton Pass strategies has only risen with it, eventually reaching a point where the healthiest option is just to not deal with Baton Pass strategies at all. Just ban them. Okay, be so for real, do I really need to explain why Smogon bans OHKO moves? What's fair about gambling every turn to try to take a free KO? Pokemon matches are built around the idea that you need to have good board positioning and awareness of your opponent's options so you can make the optimal choice for your turn. But there's a whole genre of moves that just say, nuh-uh, 30% chance I just take something off the board. OHKO moves aren't as frowned upon in VGC and are even considered kinda hyped by the community because, once again, in such a fast-paced metagame, any turn you spend gambling isn't a turn well spent. You're just aura farming. Yes, Piccolo, we see the fit. Yes, Dondozo, we see the fissure. But in singles, where matches are much slower and you can really bulk out your Pokemon, it's frankly pretty believable that you'll get to roll the dice at least 5 times with each of your Pokemon that have an OHKO move. By banning them, Smogon encourages players to actually interact and play the game. It encourages them to look at your opponent's team and think of what you need to do to beat them, not clicking Sheer Cold or Fissure every single turn. This prevents people from running pure RNG strategies to steal games. There's a lot of banned moves in certain metagames, but I just wanted to take a look at 3 examples from VGC and 3 major ones from Smogon, so we could just examine the methodology behind these bans. Where VGC tends to only ban moves that have unintended effects and bugs surrounding them, Smogon takes it just a step further and uses bans to try to shape a healthier environment for singles play. A pretty noble task if you ask me, since as of late Game Freak seems more concerned with balancing the doubles metagame of VGC, and singles players need a place to go. But what do you think about banned moves in Pokemon? Do you think Smogon has a point behind their bans, or do you think that nothing should be banned, including those buggy moves in VGC? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It'd mean the world to me. If you want to support me any further, you can check out my Patreon page or become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button below the video. This gets you a sneak peek at future videos, access to bonus content, and access to my supporter-only Discord, where you can hang out and team build with other community members. You also see your name at the end of all my videos like all these lovely people. Special thanks to my most boosted supporters, Avatar67 and Club, for their generous pledges. Another way to support me is to check out all the videos in the playlist on screen right now. I know you'll find something in there that you'll enjoy. I also have a second channel where I talk about the current VGC metagame trends, and a Twitch channel where I stream, or you can just tune in my YouTube live streams on this channel at 6 p.m. CST Monday through Friday. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.